The methodology is to set up a secondary domain name, and with that secondary domain name, do your marketing, cold outreach, emails from. And the thinking behind this is that it won't impact the sending reputation of your primary domain name. Is using a secondary domain good for cold emails? I have lots of thoughts on this, and I want to cover this for you if you're considering using a second dummy email alias for sending cold emails to people. Now, let's first zoom out and ask ourselves, why would someone do this? Why would someone use a secondary email address to send cold emails to someone? And I've done this in the past. It's basically so you don't trash your reputation on your domain name by sending borderline spammy emails. What people will do is they will choose a domain name that is similar to their primary domain name. And I wouldn't recommend something like a misspelling because it's probably going to cause issues with people trusting your brand. But in my case, at the time when I was using this method, instead of using peter@itgenius.com, I used peter@itgenius.co. Now that seems plausible enough to be an email address that's legitimate and coming from a domain name. I could use a different country code if I wanted to. I could use itgenius.us if I wanted to, because we own that as a backup domain to our primary brand. But whatever you choose, effectively the methodology is to set up a secondary domain name, and with that secondary domain name, do your marketing, cold outreach, emails from. And the thinking behind this is that it won't impact the sending reputation of your primary domain name. Now, for the most part, as far as email architecture works, this is pretty clever thinking, and it does work this way. There are some risks which I'll cover in the moment, but I want to share with you how email ranking and reputation works. Email domain names, for the most part, are not correlated with each other for reputation. The email infrastructure of the world hasn't really changed all that much in the last 30, 40 years since the internet was started. And it basically means that when you have emails going in and out of domains on the internet, you just have those linked to that one physical domain name. It wasn't really designed and built to have multiple domain names interacting with each other under a collective brand umbrella. Email architecture isn't really that smart. So if you have a domain name, like I have itgenius.com, and I'm sending a lot of emails to people and those emails are marking those as spam, not only does that go into their spam mailbox in Gmail and Google learns that, emails from Peter might be more likely to be spam, but it actually sends that spam report back to the literal email architecture of the internet. And there are public blacklists for domain reputation. Now, if you do enough spamming, or maybe your website has got a hack and it's got malicious code being hosted on it, your whole domain name can be given a bad reputation score. And if you put on one of those blacklists or block lists, well, it can harm your ability to send email to anyone. Now, obviously, we recommend that people don't send spam emails because it's illegal in most jurisdictions, but it's also not a good idea because it can hurt your reputation of your email sending. That means that if you send one too many of those marketing emails or cold outreach emails, well, you might not even be able to send legitimate emails anymore, because when you go to email that supplier or that customer that you already have a relationship with, well, your email just might not go through if you wind up on one of those blacklists. So that's the thinking in setting up a secondary domain name to do your kind of gray area email sending outreach campaigns that might not necessarily be smiled upon by your email provider that's providing your primary domain name. Now, where Google Workspace comes into this is an interesting one. If I wanted to send a mass market cold automated email, I probably wouldn't do it inside of Google Workspace. Google Workspace does have a reputation inside your account that does cover multiple domains. And Google also has limits on the number of emails that you can send per day right across your Google Workspace account. If you want to do large mass email campaigns, you're probably pretty quickly going to run afoul of Google's sending limits, because apart from Google giving you some basic mail merge options inside of Gmail, Google Workspace ecosystem is not designed for large-scale mass emails. You want to use an enterprise transactional mail system for that. It might be something like Twilio. It might be something like Mandrill, which was acquired by MailChimp, so it's now called MailChimp Transactional, or various other transactional email providers. Now, if you really do want to have that email coming into your inbox when someone replies, well, you can still set up a secondary domain as an alias for your account. Now, I can't give you advice here, but I will give you my opinion. If you are sending from your secondary domain that you want to use for cold outreach, and that's going out through a transactional mail service, which is probably authenticated, and you're sending cold emails in a way that's not spammy and not getting your domain blacklisted or running into issues with the reputation of the domain by too many people hitting the spam button on those emails, well, I think there's probably not much harm in those emails going out on a secondary domain. And then when people reply, having that secondary domain configured as an alias domain inside your Google Workspace account. That means that customers can reply and you'll get the replies in your email, and every subsequent reply in that email chain will then come from your primary domain with a good reputation. And that's what you want. If someone responds to your cold outreach, you want to be able to continue the conversation with your primary brand so it's no longer confusing for your customer. I can't recommend you doing too much that's in any kind of gray areas when it comes to email marketing or technology, because there may be limits that I don't even know about that might catch you up, and we don't want anything bad happening to your domain name. So tread lightly with this, and you do so at your own risk. If you need more help with what we've covered in this video, itGenius provides support services to businesses all over the world with problems just like this. Click the link below to get started.